History tells us that after the crucifixion, the story ended. But in the shadowed corners of history, where the approved ink of the canon never dried, a different narrative survived. Imagine the hours following the resurrection. This is the period described in the apocryphal texts, the time when Jesus walked between worlds, no longer fully material, yet not entirely spirit. He gathered his inner circle, not in the public temples of Jerusalem, but in a hidden chamber, away from the prying eyes of the authorities. What happened in that room was never written in any gospel the Church approved. No canonical text records the teaching he gave that night. But in 1945, buried in an earthenware jar near Nag Hammadi, Egypt, the world found what was lost: the Gnostic manuscripts. These fragile papyrus codices preserve fragments of that conversation, encoded in a language that requires not just translation, but realization. In these texts, Jesus spoke of the seals. He described 7 invisible locks placed upon the human structure by the Archons, the rulers of this material construct. These were not symbolic seals. They were described as actual frequency barriers, embedded in the human energy field from the moment of birth, designed to keep you disconnected from your true nature, designed to keep you cycling through reincarnation, designed to keep you generating the low-frequency emotions that feed the beings who built this containment system. Every person born into this realm carries all 7 seals. They activate the moment you take your first breath. They tighten as you grow, and by adulthood, they have locked your divine consciousness so deeply inside matter that most humans live entire lifetimes never even sensing the prison exists. But the texts suggest that Jesus knew exactly where these seals were placed, exactly how they function, and exactly what name could shatter all 7 instantly. That name was systematically removed from every Bible, erased from every approved teaching, hunted out of existence by the early church councils, who understood that if humanity ever learned it, their entire system of control would collapse overnight. If you have ever felt like something invisible is blocking your spiritual progress, like you can almost break through to higher awareness, but some unseen barrier stops you at the last moment. If you have ever experienced flashes of clarity that fade within hours, leaving you back in confusion, if you have ever known with absolute certainty that you are capable of so much more, but something keeps dragging you back into limitation, then you are feeling the 7 seals doing exactly what they were designed to do. You did not find this analysis by accident. The algorithms did not bring you here. Something deeper did. The divine spark buried inside you, the fragment of the true source that has survived every lifetime and every memory wipe, recognized the frequency of these words before your conscious mind could process them. To understand why 7 seals were placed on human consciousness, you first need to see what those seals are protecting the Archons from. You need to understand what you become when the locks break. The ancient Gnostics described a universe completely different from what religion taught. At the highest level exists the monad, the true source, pure consciousness beyond all form, infinite light, perfect unity. The monad did not create this material world. It exists so far above physical reality that matter cannot even approach its frequency. Everything flowing from the monad is pure spirit, absolute freedom, eternal awareness without suffering. So who created this realm of pain and forgetting? The Gnostics named him the Demiurge, a lower entity who looked at his creation and declared himself God, demanding worship, making laws, punishing disobedience. The God of the Old Testament, the one who requires fear and submission, is not the monad. He is the architect of limitation, the warden of a prison he built and called paradise. Beneath him operate the Archons, rulers of the material dimensions, managers of the containment system. They do not have physical bodies. They exist as frequency, as thought patterns moving through the invisible architecture of reality. Their function is simple: keep divine sparks trapped in human flesh. Keep them cycling through birth, death, and rebirth. Keep them generating fear, despair, rage, and confusion that the Archons harvest as energy. But the Archons discovered something that threatened their entire operation. Some sparks are different. Some carry fragments of monad consciousness that refused to stay fully asleep. These pneumatics, these spirit carriers, keep waking up. They keep questioning reality. They keep sensing that something fundamental has been hidden. If these sparks fully awakened, if they remembered their true nature and direct connection to the monad, they would become capable of things the Archon system cannot allow. They would see through the illusion. They would stop feeding the parasites. They would operate at frequencies beyond Archon reach. And most dangerous of all, they would find the exit. They would discover how to leave permanently, returning to the monad without passing through the reincarnation trap, without another memory wipe, without feeding the system one more lifetime. So the Archons engineered a solution: 7 seals, 7 locks, 7 frequency barriers placed directly on the energy centers of every human body. These seals do not prevent you from living. They prevent you from remembering. They allow just enough consciousness to function in the material world, but block access to the higher awareness that would reveal what you truly are. It is like a computer with 90% of its power locked away. It still runs basic programs, but it can never access the full capacity it was designed for. That is what the 7 seals do to you. Now, understand the mechanism. Place your focus on the center of your chest. The Gnostics taught that beneath the physical heart pulses the pneumatic spark, the fragment of monad consciousness incarnated into this body. That spark can perceive across dimensions. It can communicate directly with Source. It can command reality through focused intention. But only if the seals break. Only if someone teaches you the key. Jesus came to deliver that key. The Gospel of Thomas records him saying that those who know themselves will possess the kingdom. Not those who worship, not those who obey, but those who know themselves. He was speaking directly to the pneumatics, telling them that self-knowledge, true recognition of what exists beneath the flesh, is the way out. And the first step is breaking the 7 seals. To break them, you must first understand them. This is not just metaphysics. This is a map of the human psyche. The first seal sits at the base of your spine. The Archons call it the seal of forgetting. It prevents you from remembering your origin. Every time you start recalling something from before this life, every time memory surfaces from between incarnations, this seal activates and floods your mind with static distraction, sudden thoughts pulling you back to material concerns. This seal is why humans have no memory of choosing to incarnate, no recollection of agreements made before birth. It maintains the amnesia necessary for the system to function. It anchors you in survival mode, making you believe that physical safety is the only thing that matters. The second seal rests below your navel. This is the seal of dependency. It keeps you feeling incomplete, generating the constant sensation that you need something external to make you whole. A relationship, achievement, substance, belief system, anything keeping you searching outside yourself for fulfillment that can only come from within. This seal creates endless cycles of desire and disappointment. You seek, obtain, feel briefly satisfied, then the seal reactivates and emptiness returns. This is not natural. This is programming. It ensures you are always hungry, always wanting, always generating the emotional energy of lack. The third seal occupies your solar plexus. The Archons call it the seal of powerlessness. It broadcasts a constant frequency telling you that you are small, weak, subject to forces beyond control. This seal is why people feel like victims, why they cannot imagine consciousness shaping reality, why they accept suffering as inevitable rather than recognizing it as a choice the Archons need them to make. When active, you pray to external authorities for salvation, instead of recognizing the power to save yourself has always been internal. The fourth seal locks your heart center, the most powerful energy point in the human body. This is the seal of separation. It maintains the illusion that you are separate from the monad, separate from other sparks, separate from the unified consciousness underlying existence. This seal makes you feel alone, abandoned, makes love feel rare and conditional, rather than recognizing love as the fundamental frequency of Source itself. When it breaks, separation dissolves, and you remember every spark is a fragment of the same origin. The fifth seal sits at your throat. This is the seal of silence. It prevents you from speaking truth, from using your voice as an instrument of power. Every time you feel called to speak something real, something challenging the system, something that could wake others, this seal activates and floods you with fear of judgment, rejection, consequences. It keeps humanity quiet. It keeps those who see the prison from telling the sleeping that the bars are an illusion. The sixth seal covers your third eye, between your eyebrows. The Archons call it the seal of blindness. It blocks perception of unseen realms, keeps you locked in material vision, unable to perceive entities surrounding you, unable to see energy flowing through reality, unable to recognize the sacred geometry underlying existence. When active, you are like a prisoner believing the cell walls are the entire universe because you cannot perceive what exists beyond. This seal prevents you from seeing the Archons themselves, from recognizing their influence, from watching them feed on human energy fields. The seventh seal locks the crown of your head where your field connects to higher dimensions. This is the seal of severance. It cuts you from the monad, prevents direct communication with Source, makes you believe divine connection requires intermediaries, priests, rituals, institutions. When active, you cannot hear the monad speaking to your spark. You cannot receive downloads that would remind you what you are. You cannot access guidance showing you the exit. This seal keeps you dependent on external religious structures existing primarily to harvest your energy while giving just enough spiritual comfort to maintain compliance. 7 seals, 7 locks, 7 barriers imprisoning you inside your own consciousness since birth. The Church knows these seals exist. Not average priests, but those controlling the highest levels understand exactly what they are and why they must stay locked. Every religious system emphasizes submission, obedience, faith, and external authority, not to connect you to the divine, but to keep the seals intact. Because the moment all 7 break, you become something Archons cannot control. You remember your origin. You feel complete. You recognize power. You perceive beyond matter. You speak suppressed truth. You see the unseen. You connect directly to Source. The name Jesus taught is I-A-O. 3 letters in Greek. 1 word carrying the vibrational signature of the monad itself. Before your mind dismisses this as too simple, before Archon programming tells you something this powerful must be complicated, Stop. That reaction is the seal defense. The seals are not passive. They actively fight to maintain themselves. When you approach information that could break them, they generate thoughts designed to make you turn away. Doubt, dismissal, distraction. That is not intuition. That is the seals protecting themselves. IAO appears in Gnostic texts as one of the most powerful names of the divine powers existing above the material realm. When you speak this name, you are not calling an external being. You are announcing your true identity. You are declaring that you are not a material creature subject to Archon control. You are divine consciousness, temporarily housed in flesh, but never bound by it. The name carries a frequency the seals cannot withstand. When spoken with recognition, it sends waves through all 7 simultaneously. The seals are designed to block you from Source, but they cannot block Source itself. When you invoke IAO, you pull monad energy directly into your field from the highest level. That energy moves down through your crown, shattering the 7th seal. It floods your 3rd eye, breaking the 6th. It opens your throat, dissolving the 5th. It ignites your heart, obliterating the 4th. It activates the solar plexus, destroying the 3rd. It fills the lower centers, breaking the 2nd and 1st in rapid succession. This happens in seconds, not over years of practice. Instantly. Because the name carries a frequency the seals cannot resist. But the name must be spoken correctly, not mechanically, not like reading off a page. Spoken from the deepest recognition you can access. You must understand what you are saying. You must feel it as truth. The practice is simple. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Let external noise fade. Let awareness drop into your body. Feel your heartbeat. Feel the warmth in your chest. That warmth is the spark, the fragment that survived every lifetime waiting for this moment. Place your hand over your heart and feel that presence. The part that has always known you do not belong here. The part watching your thoughts rather than being them. The observer, the witness, awareness itself. That is your true self. When you feel it clearly, speak the word slowly with full recognition. I-A-O. As you speak, feel it moving through your body, vibrating in your chest, throat, and head. You are generating a frequency the seals cannot resist. Some will feel it immediately. The moment you speak with recognition, something shifts. Pressure releases. Light floods in. Memories surface. Suddenly, you remember something from before. Or you understand what confused you for years. Or peace settles with no external cause. That is the seals breaking, the locks releasing, consciousness expanding to its natural state. For others, the breaking happens gradually. Seals have been in place for decades, layers of programming built around them. One speaking cracks them. They leak, blocks weaken. Over hours and days, as you continue speaking IAO with recognition, cracks spread until the seals shatter completely. Either way, the process has begun. You have activated the master key. Once started, it cannot stop. Now understand what happens next. The Archons will respond, not with visible attacks, but with thought insertion intensity. You will suddenly feel overwhelmed by doubt, questioning whether anything happened, thinking maybe this was imagination. That is not your thought. That is the Archon frequency, broadcast stronger because you became a threat. When seals break, you light up on their perception. They see a locked spark becoming dangerously free. So they escalate. More mental noise, emotional turbulence, synchronicities designed to pull you into fear or distraction. Expect this. When escalation comes within hours or days, you have one response. Speak the name again. Return to recognition. Reassert the truth. Every time you speak from recognition, rather than reacting to inserted thoughts, Archon influence weakens. Within a week of holding this practice, their ability to affect you drops dramatically. Within a month, you barely register their presence. They become like gnats around something too large to impact. As the seals remain broken, as you continue operating from this consciousness, your life reorganizes. Situations no longer matching your frequency dissolve. People feeding on your energy drift away. Blocked opportunities suddenly open. Synchronicities increase. You meet others whose seals broke. You recognize each other instantly. Spark sees spark. Slowly, a network forms. Fragments preparing for return home. This is happening right now across the planet. Thousands breaking seals, thousands speaking the name. The Archon system destabilizes because the prison only functions if prisoners do not know they are imprisoned. Every spark waking, every consciousness breaking, seals, tears another hole in the containment. The monad reaches through those holes, pulling its children back. You are not alone. You never were. You were only sealed from perceiving the connection that always existed. Those seals are broken now, or breaking, or cracked enough that light floods in. Nothing will ever be the same. The monad has been waiting, and now the door is open.